Good morning, my app A are back. Here's the plan. It's Wednesday. We've just had a 2-day national holiday here. I did say at the end of the last episode I would probably be filming on Sunday when the crew did come in. In the end, just got too busy. We didn't have a full crew, so there wasn't quite as much progress as there might otherwise have been. But we had grandson Jacob's birthday. Happy birthday again, Jacob. We had all sorts of things going on that day with shopping and preparation, and I got kidnapped by aliens for a couple of hours, you know how it is. So, today, there will be work on the roof over the laundry area. There will be, of course, lots of painting, sanding, grouting, all that nonsense going on. There may be something new on glass, and there may be something new on electrical work. What could possibly go wrong? Today, we're going to get a roof. This is the polycarbonate that will go up on the roof for the laundry and possibly water purification area. This is going to get installed. So it's hard to make out in this light and against the ground, but it is a slightly tinted but almost clear colour. Oh, that helps. So that's what they're going to be using. We'll try and watch as much of the process as we can today. So the process begins with a little bit of measurement and, I assume, cutting. We'll come back and see what that cutout area is for. Presumably part of the roof structure. The area that they cut out is so that this roofing sheet will fit around the ledge that juts out for part of this, well actually most of this side of the house. And you can probably make out they've already attached a metal kind of a lip that goes into the wall above the roof, just above the roof frame, a couple of inches above the roof frame. So the polycarbonate will sit just below that and then be attached with initially tech screws, and then they'll use silicone as a sealer as well. We'll come back when they've made a little bit more progress with this. In the dirty kitchen, Singing Rico, master cabinet maker Singing Rico, is again working on doors for these cabinets. So there was more progress in here on Sunday, a lot more treatment of doors in particular. I think a little bit more woodwork was done. We are missing Richard at the moment, so we've only got one of our 2 cabinet makers, although I'm sure there is a couple of other people on the crew who could get involved in this if it was absolutely necessary. Something else they made a start on Sunday is cutting out the area here on the island where the gas hob will go. When you install these gas hobs, there has to be clear air below them. I think from memory, you have to have a minimum of, I think it was 4 centimetres below where the gas grill, the bottom of the gas grill will be. So ultimately, we punch through here, we punch through the top of, this cabinet that will be underneath the island, and then you just have to make sure there is clear air, so you couldn't really have anything up near the top of this cabinet. Painter Mr. Willie is still here in the pantry. So quite a lot of the surfaces now have the white covering, which is glazing putty. On the tin it still does say automotive lacquer, but it's a putty. So they've been going over, putting a very thin layer on all of the shelf surfaces just to add a smoother finish before the next treatments that come along. The plan for the next 1 or 2 days is that we will get the glass installed here on the side of the stairs and in the one remaining area upstairs, which is above the entrance, where we've got that double height area again. Those guys are due to come back either today or tomorrow. Despite the fact that there is still clearly a lot of work to be done on the stairs, they're going to go ahead with the installation. Papa Jess, again, working on checking power supply through outlets all over the house. Don't do this yourself. They've just done a test fit to make sure everything fits into place, and Oliver's now just making some tiny little adjustments on the edges where the polycarbonate fits around the beam. I know this never happens, but I was wrong. The polycarbonate will actually sit on top of that little lip and be screwed into that. It doesn't go underneath. Just like that, in fact. So we'll come back and see when there's a bit more progress with setting this all in place. I guess the next step now is polycarbonate, tech screws going in to hold everything down. We're in the master bedroom where we have a problem. And in fact, we have a problem in all of the bedrooms. One thing I noticed on, I think it was Saturday night, was the doors to two of the bedrooms wouldn't close without some resistance from the floor. The floor is buckling upwards. The reason, they think, is because when you lay a wood floor, and although this is engineered wood, I suspect it would apply to any wood floor, they believe now that you have to leave an air gap all around the edge. Unfortunately, when they've laid the floors in the bedrooms here, and specifically when they put in the skirting boards, the baseboards, they skim coated all the way down to the edge. There is no air gap at the edge, all the way around the outside edge of the room's flooring. There's no way for air to pass through. So what they're going to do, and they've started to do here, is remove all of those skirting boards. Then they're going to have to make sure they effectively kind of dig out any skim coat that is down in that area at the edge of the boards, and then put back the skirting boards, allowing that air to still have a very tiny gap to escape through. That, they think, is the solution. We had a similar problem when we lived in Hong Kong in a house that wasn't ours, so there was not much we could do about it. But basically we would find that in a couple of the bedrooms in particular where we had wood flooring, they buckled upwards quite badly. And I think when you're in an environment with high humidity, that probably makes things worse. But the solution for us there was only the fact that we could sort of once a year call up the landlord and say, floor's buckled again. They would come in and plane off a little bit of the bottom of the doors. It obviously only fixed the area around the door. It didn't solve the problem. So if you're putting in a wood flooring, I think of any kind, the message from this is leave an air gap. It doesn't have to be big at all. It can be very, very tiny, but there has to be an air gap all the way around the outside. We will find out in the weeks and months to come whether that actually does solve the problem. But in all of the rooms at the moment, some of the flooring is really quite markedly bubbled up. In some areas it almost feels a bit like a trampoline. There's so much, the floor has risen, you can bounce up and down a little bit on it. So don't make that mistake. Leave an air gap around the outside. We will report back in the future if there are further problems. The risk here, of course, is damage when they're removing the skirting boards, that there's damage to the walls, which is not a big deal. That's an easy fix with some filler and repainting. But the risk is damage where Ernie is now, for example, and he's removing some of the skim coat that's inside between the flooring and the tiled walls. There's no skirting board there, but same thing applies there. There has to be an air gap. So there could be, while he's doing this, damage to either the tiles or the flooring. Flooring, I guess, relatively easy fix for that, but it would mean buying more wood. Tiling, if that gets damaged, that's probably a much more complicated fix, given the stage that we're at with these tiles all being in, finished, done and dusted. So this is a real pain. This is, I believe, a simple-ish fix, but it's going to add quite a lot of time to remove everything, clear out the blockage, if you like, and then reinstall. And then hopefully not have to deal with additional damage that's been caused in the process. It is just after lunch and we have a roof. All of the polycarbonate is in. I will show you this from above in a moment so you can get a slightly better look at it, but at the moment Oliver is just adding more silicone anywhere where there are joins. It also went between the polycarbonate and the trusses, if you like, the roof beams. There's one more element that they haven't done yet. The tech screws are going in, but there's something else down here. Not so easy to make out, but we've got a flat bar, which will again be put in place across all of the joins between the polycarbonate, and that will then be screwed in place. So this roof doesn't need an awful lot more doing to it. I suspect there'll be some tidy up, but we're getting close. This is almost ready. And then they'll have to remove the protective covering from the top. It's 4:30. The bell has gone. Before we go inside, this is the new location for the very high stakes card games that go on in this place. I have no idea what game this is. Anyway, let's go and see what's been going on. But before we do, we've got a contribution from Bob Twed Philippines once again. This is one of about 10 comments that have just shown up in my YouTube studio. One of them was from 9 months ago and it's just arrived. No idea what's going on there, but Bob says, 3 guys walk into a bar, clearly in high spirits. They walk up to the bartender and order a round of drinks. Head back for their table, sit down, and a toast rings out. 53! And the same thing goes on throughout the evening. Every time they have a drink, they toast. 53! Eventually, curiosity gets the better of the bartender. And the next guy that comes up to order, he says, what's going on? What's the 53 toast? The fella says, oh, we're celebrating a huge finish to something. We've just finished a jigsaw puzzle in 53 days. Bartender says, well, why is that worthy of a celebration? The guy says, well, on the box it said 3 to 5 years. Let's go and see what's been happening. We've got to start here with our roof. Doesn't look dramatically different to the last time we looked at it, to be honest. What they have been doing is some kind of preparation here at ground level, where there will have to be a floor slab. Up top, can't see too much difference. We'll see from above if it looks any different at all. The dirty kitchen, if I'm honest, it looks the same. I know that Sing and Rico did get called away for at least part of the day to help with skirting board removal and work upstairs, so maybe there wasn't much more done in here during the rest of the afternoon. Inside the pantry, it's a little bit dark, but there is a strong smell of paint, and a number of these shelves now are with a first coat of undercoat, not just the glazing putty that was going on earlier today. Well, this morning I was told there might be something with glass today. We might get the banisters on the stairs and the balustrade across this gap, but not today. To be fair, the engineer did tell me this morning it would most likely be either today or tomorrow, so looks like one more day to wait. and was also told this morning that something new on electrical might happen. But I've had a walk around the house and I can't see any sign of it. So that's going to start tomorrow. Basically what should be happening now is we're going to start to get the sockets installed, which will be followed by switches, which is going to give me a monster hangover because the system I want to put in place for home automations and control will detect all of the smart switches that we're going to be putting in and all the smart outlets that we're going to put in, but it won't know where they are. In an ideal world, I would have that home automation system ready and set up to some extent already before I start installing, or rather before they start installing, and then they could do it kind of one by one, and as each one went in, the system would detect it and I would know where it was. But no, we're going to have to go through a process involving something like, I think, 45 smart outlets and goodness knows how many smart switches. And somehow, once I do get my home system, automation system running, I'm going to have to try and figure out where each of the signals that it's detecting are coming from. It could be a nightmare, but never mind. More importantly, we're going to start to get outlets and then switches. It's not just going to be bare wires everywhere for too much longer. Well, from up here, I don't see any difference from the top either, unless maybe there's a few more of the screws have gone in, but there's nothing else that I can tell that is different. I'm guessing there was more silicone applied. Maybe that was it. That's it for the day. No overtime going on at the moment. No sign today of the guys doing the modular kitchen cabinets. No sign of the glass guys. Actually, a couple of the windows guys did come in and were tweaking a few more bits and pieces. But there was, of course, still more painting going on, although we were missing a couple of the painters today. Always tend to happen after any kind of longer weekend. There's always one or two, there's almost always one or two who don't make it back for the first day back on the build. Never mind, I would imagine they'll probably both be back in the very near term. So, that's it. Day's in the bag. See you tomorrow.